Hello. Welcome to episode 246 of Adventures in Pop. My name is Simon Jacobs. You are looking pretty fabulous. It's a very hot day in London. I hope that won't come across in this video. I hope I'm not, more moist than usual, but it is pretty sweltering. In this episode, well, first of all, I just want to say it's nice to get on to episode 246 after 3 episodes that all call themselves episode 245. Go back and check out my really nice interview with Indie Over 50. That was in the last 3 episodes. In this episode, we're talking about monsters. Yeah. Why? Well, Monsters is the name of the Goldhawk Foxes' 10th single from this album. As we reach the closing stages of album number 2 for Goldhawk Foxes, and there's a little bit of history to this really good track called Monsters, which obviously I'm going to play and give you the video and pretend you've never heard it before. I think it has appeared in an earlier Adventures many, many moons ago, and I'm not even going to tell you what number it was. So, first of all, we're coming towards the end of getting these singles out for Goldhawk Fox's second album. After Monsters, I think all we got left is really the album with a final single and another 12 tracks of loveliness. I've got to say, since we formed Goldhawk Foxes, it just so happens there are a lot more Goldhawk Foxes around. We are actually inundated with foxes at the moment. I've never seen anything like it. I just think it's a good job we didn't decide to call this duo Goldhawk Elephants. That would have been problematic. Now look, this song was put together by the two of us, CJ and myself, about a year ago in response to a brief from Taxi. Now look, we've talked about Taxi before. They are the company, the syncing company that is the middleman, the middle person between the artists and companies like publishing houses, film production companies, TV production companies, where they're looking for original music to put in an advert, stick in a publishing library, to be used at some later stage, or to very specifically go into a film or a TV drama, etc., a TV program, I should say. So we responded to a brief from Taxi that was very explicit, if I remember rightly. It said, we want songs about monsters or devils or beasts, I think it said. So we kind of thought, well, come on, how difficult could that possibly be? And we got to writing. If I remember rightly, the deadline was not far into the future. We had to kind of set about it with, I guess, a certain sense of urgency and keep referring back to the brief. It was prepared to take songs about monsters or beasts or devils in any genre. So we didn't really need to worry about what style were we creating, what tempo were we going, or any of those sorts of things. There was no guide to whether they wanted something that sounded acoustic or something that sounded like, a 1970s disco song. So we were given, I suppose, some freedom, the liberty just to come up with a song that was about monsters, and off we went. Now, I remember very vividly the turning point in this song, which turned it from something that wasn't necessarily making a whole lot of sense, or it wasn't particularly compelling, to being something that we both suddenly thought, oh, that's good, that's nice. I remember it was basically, I think it was the second time we got together. So we'd already done a bit of work. We'd already put together maybe a verse and an attempt at a chorus. And I remember we sat down on the second time with the deadline now really quite close. And I said to CJ, I've got 2 problems with this. One is the tune in the chorus doesn't grab me, if I'm really honest. And the second thing, which is a more important problem, a more urgent thing that we need to fix, is I don't think our song is monstery enough. We're not mentioning monsters enough. I can't, it's like there's a hint of a monster, but I think for this brief, I remember saying we had to be much more explicit and ram some monsters into this song, otherwise there's no point sending it to them, really. So we ummed and ahed for a bit, and then, if I remember rightly, I think CJ came up with a line or two of the chorus, and it was kind of inspired. And I don't think it took very long. And I think it would be wrong to take an awful lot of credit for that for myself, other than to say, I suppose I was the catalyst that made it happen. But I think CJ actually put it on the table and said, "Hey, what about we do this?" I remember thinking, "Yep, that'll do." So Monsters was born, and when we sent it off to Taxi, the reason I'm mentioning all this is it was the very first time in quite a number of years, and certainly in quite a number of attempts, it was the very first time that Taxi accepted a work from me or us. And in the response that we got back, it just said, "You have been successful with Taxi because of your chorus." It was completely clear about it, and I loved that. It was very nice. And to begin with, I remember thinking, yeah, but what, are you going to give us more information? And I thought, no, actually, that's fine. They have given us information. That data, that feedback, is really useful, really good. And it just says you got the chorus right. And it kind of reaffirmed in my mind, A, the importance of chorus, B, the importance of some key words, and maybe C, just getting a nice, catchy, hooky melody into that chorus. And I think we managed to do that. So then it was left to me, if I remember rightly, to kind of produce this thing and send it off to Taxi. And I remember having quite a struggle with it. If I'm honest, I wasn't particularly pleased with the production kind of quality that got sent to Taxi. So it was always my intention with CJ to go back and have a look at anything that needed to be re-recorded, produce in a slightly different way. And I think the single that I am about to play to you is a big improvement actually on what we sent to Taxi a year ago. Now, I just want to say, just finishing off the whole Taxi thing, having sent it to Taxi and getting that warm, lovely response back, that successful response, of course, that is never going to be the whole story. They sent it on to somebody. We don't really know who that somebody is. And then I remember saying to CJ, one of three things can happen. One, nothing. And so it has been, in fact. You just don't hear anything ever again, which means that they send it on to a publishing library, a TV company, whatever it might be, and they've just thought, no, not that one, we'll have this one. And they don't necessarily let you know. So it's just silence forever. And that's one option. One option is that amazing things happen. You win the lottery. They decide to make it the theme song of a TV series that then goes on to be the biggest hit the world has ever seen. I mean, just think about it. Somebody will have written the theme to Friends, not knowing that Friends was about to take over the planet for the rest of eternity. So, that theme song for Friends is getting played all the time somewhere around the world continuously. They must have raked in literally millions and millions of dollars. Now, look, that's rare. It's a possibility, but it's rare. So number two is you basically win the lottery. You just, out of luck, your track lands on something that then goes on to storm the world. Okay? And the third option is somewhere in between nothing and everything, which is you get a little contract and you earn a bit of money and you feel good about it and you carry on and it's not life-changing. I'd love that to happen. I mean, I think 2 and 3 are obviously going to be a bit more fun than the number 1, where it's just radio silence. Okay, so here comes Monsters and its new guys, and all I would say to you is, I guess, an unusual decision that I made. I needed to persuade CJ that this was okay, which was to try and keep the production pretty bare until it comes into the second verse after the chorus. So certainly the first third of the song is fairly sparse, or at least for us it's fairly sparse, and then it builds up. Then the rhythm comes in, and then you go for a big kind of end chorus. Now, the danger of going for a big end chorus is, of course, that your audience doesn't get to the end to ever hear it. So you've got to be careful about this. It's a difficult one. And I think CJ and I have had this discussion stroke argument many times, which is, do you bring some of the climactic stuff that you've put later in your song, do you bring it earlier, which undercuts then your big climax because you've already kind of done it, you've stolen its thunder and put it over here? Or you risk the concern, the big risk, which is that you've got it all going on in the last 45 seconds and nobody gets there. Nobody hangs around for that fantastic clinching final chorus that would have got them on the edge of their seat. Who knows? There is not a right and a wrong answer to that one, but it is a conundrum. And this one is a little bit more held back on the basis we think that people might listen to it. Who knows? You will be the judge of that, as ever. So without further ado, I hope you enjoyed the video. We're trying to conjure up some monstrous things. Here is Goldhawk Foxes' 10th track, 10th single from his second album. It's called Monsters, and you have a lovely week. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thought you were an angel, the way you shone so bright. You cured my fear of sleeping alone. You watched me through the night. You're rent-free in my brain. It don't change when you're away. If people try to warn me, I was too deep in the game. How could I be so stupid, be so stupid, be so stupid? Thinking I never go through this, never go through this, I never go through this. I know monsters are for real. It don't change the way that I feel. I didn't know back then, but now I know the deal. I see monsters all around, but they never make a sound. 'Cause when the sun is rising, they go underground. But something wasn't right. I smelled gas in the light. I started going blind. 'Cause your monster would not hide. And now I see the monster is so mean. In the beauty lives a beast. The lie and cheese, yeah. How could I be so stupid, be so stupid, be so stupid? Thinking I never go through this, never go through this, never go through this. I know monsters are for real. It don't change the way that I feel. I didn't know back then, but now I know the deal. I see monsters all around, but they never make a sound. 'Cause when the sun is rising, they go underground. Monsters are for real. Change the way I feel. Now I know the deal. I see monsters all around, but they never make a sound. 'Cause when the sun is rising,